Clemmons, Doctor of Chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and you are listening to Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. This is Friday, December 5th, halfway through the month, 10 days away from Christmas, and we are coming to you live right here from the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios at in Lubbock, Texas, and also on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio and 1420 AM Lubbock Christian Nation. It's kind of an exciting show because we have added a new listener group to the show tonight. So we have for the first time are getting to stream to Instagram. So I'm hoping that if you go to the Instagram, therock.health, you will be able to see us on Instagram. I'm not sure exactly if it's working or it's not, or how this works, but I'm hoping that it sets itself up. And if those guys on Instagram actually get to hear us tonight, or they get to see us, welcome. It's a new show for you guys if you haven't seen it. And I just want to introduce it just for a second, because what we do is we come to you every night from 6 to 7 right here from our office. This is our studio in our office. And it's Monday through Friday from 6 to 7 p.m. right after Pratt on Texas on 98.7 Walk by Faith. And this is a show about health. It's a show to try to help you be as healthy as possible. We want to create a show that will answer all the questions related to health. And that's what we've been doing. We started this on September 1st, and we've been working on it for quite some time now. So quite some time. It's not really that long. We've just been at it for 3.5 months, and we're working our way through some of the challenges of learning how to do this. Where some days we're better at it than others, but this week has been a good week. So all you guys that are on Instagram, if you're getting to see this on Instagram, I hope you are. Hope it's working for you right there. If you are and you want to send us a message, you can send us a chat. You can watch us on Facebook. You can watch us on YouTube. We're on X. And you can send us a chat during the show, and I'd be glad to answer any of your questions. And then there's also, for you guys that are on the radio, you can send us a text at 806-794-0400. 806-794-0400 is our text line. And I'd be glad to answer your questions. You can actually text me after the show. You can text me during the show. And any of those times, we will get to you and answer your questions for you. So if you have a question about health, if you're something that you'd like to talk about and you want me to cover for you, or something you could answer, or I could answer for you, please let me know. It'd be great. So this week has been great. It's really been a good week at the Rock Health and Wellness Center. We've had some amazing things happen. We've had some people that are really, really doing well with their care, that are showing great progress that they never even knew they could have. We've had some new patients that are getting some things explained to them that they haven't had in the past. And so it's been an exciting week. It's been great, really. All the things that have been happening at the Rock. So, and the show's been good. Monday is our Take Health to Church night, and we take the lesson from Sunday and we apply it to Monday. And we tried it twice this week because Monday didn't quite go like I wanted it to. So I just redid it again on Tuesday to try to go through all that. And then on Wednesday, we got back into The Body by Bill Bryson, and we broke down chapter 5, I believe, which was the head. And then last night, we tried to talk about some metabolism stuff. So some of the things on Thursdays, we try to get a little bit more technical. Gives me a chance to be a nerd a little bit and get into some of the deeper stuff. But so if you want to learn a little bit about metabolism, you can go back and you can see it there. And then tonight, I really wanted to get, I don't want to be negative, and I don't want to be a downer, and I really want to keep coming back to you with some of the things that I really don't think we're thinking about. And I think maybe if we hear them 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 times, maybe it might make an impact in our brain. Maybe it's just, when you say something that's so different than what the normal is, and you're talking about health, and when you are talking about health, you're talking about something that's not normal. It's not. I don't even know if it's ever been normal on the history of the planet, and I don't really know if I don't really know if what I really hope happens with this show and with the people. I don't even know if it's possible. I don't know if it's possible to change the health of the world. But I know that if no one tries, it's not going to happen. And as hard as we do try, there's a bunch of us out there who are trying. And if we can get it to change, and we do turn the tides on it a little bit, it'll make life better than it would be if no one tried. And I had a conversation today, with a person that was pretty serious about um, her her health, and I just wanted to talk about the concepts of that, and I wanted to remind us exactly what we're doing, and and present for your consideration that there are things that we can do to help you be better, and there are things that we can do to measure the way that you're functioning, so that we can see that how you do better. And that's really, that's what the show is going to be about tonight. So I want to present the thoughts that we can be better. Your life can be better, and I want to show you how we can measure some of that input, and talk about it. And this is we've talked about these same things. We've had shows on these same things and these same topics, but it just keeps coming back, and it just keeps coming back, and it just keeps coming back. And I just want you to I just want you to hear it again. I want you to hear it this on Friday. If you're listening to us live, if you want to go back over the weekend and go to our Facebook page and watch the show again, I just want you to hear it again. And so we had, a follow up to a nutritional evaluation today, and what we do is on the nutritional evaluation, we have several components to that that we assess. So there's the symptom survey, there's the toxicity questionnaire. We do an omega 6-3 ratio test. We do an in-body scan to get body composition. We do a heart sound recorder. We do a heart rate variability. And we do some other testing. We do some blood pressure and some other testing right there. But we do, and we do a personal questionnaire to kind of see, how a person's doing. So we take some data. We take some data that, and we try to, we make a notebook, and we take all this information for you. Once we get the omega 6-3 ratio back, so it takes us 10 to 14 days or whatever to get that back. But we take all this information and we put it in a notebook, and we present it to you in a way that gives us subjective and objective findings to let you know how you're doing. And one of those things that we do there is the heart rate variability, and we measure it on a graph. And we've talked about this before, so you guys are familiar with this. And those of you who haven't, you could go back and catch some of those old shows. But we measure it on a graph that looks like, that's just like a plus sign in the middle of your paper right there. And the part of your nervous system that does rest and recover is measured on the horizontal line, and the part of your nervous system that does fight or flight is measured on the vertical line. And if you move from the center point and you move to the right, that's positive. And if you move to the left, that's negative. And if you go up, that's positive. And if you go down, that's negative. So It's a really cool technology, and there's all kinds of fancy ones now. So all my friend in Ruidoso, Dr. Fraley, he's got a super fancy one. It's a $30,000 machine, and it really gives about a 60-page report of heart rate variability. But he's been using the Nerve Express, which we use in the office, and we've used it now. I don't know, we've had it for a little while now, and it's the one that Dr. Fraley used for a long time, and so I've had some conversations about him with it. He's actually tested me with it, given me some feedback, and I've gotten up there and he's tested me with the new fancy machine, and I got that 60-page report, so that's why I know exactly the process of that. But it gives us some information about you that you might not realize, and then when I explain it to the patients after they've gone through it, they it's almost 100% so far that it's not surprising to them. It's almost 100% when I tell them they kind of deep down know that what I'm saying is true, or they'll confirm that what we're saying is true. And so this this graph on this test today, this retest was worse than the first test. Now, we test a bunch of different things, and the omega 6-3 ratio was great. Went from like 39 or something like that. I think it was 39. It went from 39 to 3.0, like 39.1 to 3.0 from August to November. Like that was a massive improvement. She was taking 5 of the omega 3 pills per day, and she got great improvement over that period of time. So inflammation has decreased, cell wall is starting to repair. That's an awesome thing that's going on right there. And so that's a really great finding. She did a really good job with her omega 3s. Her in-body scan was great. There was a great increase in the in-body body composition. Her muscle mass went up. She works out in our fitness program, and so her muscle mass went up, and her percent body fat went down, right on the money. Like, it was good. The heart sound recorder was great. Good improvement. Heart's doing better. That those 3 things right there showed great improvement. But the heart rate variability decreased, and it was worse. And that bothered me a little bit. And it bothered me because if you make that graph and you say this graph right here, if you just put a plus sign in the middle of a page and you say that the top right hand corner is quadrant 1, and the second one is quadrant 2, and the third one is quadrant 3. Well, that I guess it could be quadrant 4 too. I don't even know. We haven't had anybody in that other. We haven't got to that other quadrant yet. But ideally, we want a person to live in quadrant 1. That's where we want you to be, is in quadrant 1. And when you move into quadrant 2, it's telling me that your parasympathetic nervous system is losing its ability to function. You're starting to lose your ability to rest and recover. And let's go through that for a second and kind of talk about what that means from a physical standpoint. So we've talked about it before. The brain, if the brain wants to talk to the cell, so if the brain wants to talk to the cell's got receptors on it. So there's little receptors on the outside of the cell. And let's say the brain wants to calm everything down, get you into a rest and recover mode, get you peaceful and calm. The brain has chemicals, and the brain will release the parasympathetic or rest and recover chemical to dock with the receptor on the cell wall to tell the cell, hey, we want to do rest and recover activity. We want you to chill. We want you to clean things up. We want you to calm down a little bit. We want you to cool down the motor a little bit. We want you to rebuild for the night. We want to rebuild for the day. We want to be in that mode where there's no threat. There's no threat to that cell. I was having another great conversation with a guy today, and he was reminding me of when we're threatened, we flex, right? We try to protect ourselves. It's one of the things that we try to do to protect our internal organ system. We flex down, and if someone's about to hit us, or we're about to get in a car wreck, or something quick is about to happen, it's just a response where we flex down, right? So we don't. That's when we're being threatened. But the parasympathetic part is when we're not being threatened. The parasympathetic part says, okay, look, there's no threat in here. Let's just all kind of calm down for just a second. Let's breathe. Everybody breathe. Everybody take a deep breath. Let's breathe. Let's calm down. Nothing's threatening us. I'm sitting here in my office by myself on Friday at 6:20. There's nothing threatening me. I'm just talking to you. We're just having a conversation about health on a Friday. It's all good, right? We should be able to allow our brain to release those chemicals throughout our body that lets us go into that rest and recover mode so that we can chill. Okay? Now all of a sudden I look in the hallway and somebody's in the building, or somebody's all of a sudden tapping on this window, or there's a noise that I don't understand, or all of a sudden I get threatened. Well, when I get threatened, now my brain is going to release a set of chemicals that are sympathetic response. My fight or flight response is going to take place. And those chemicals are now going to come down and they're going to dock with that receptor on that cell, and they're going to make that cell respond in a way that is congruent with a fight or flight response, right? It's like, look, we're going to shut down digestion. We're going to shut down digestion because we don't need to digest our food if we're fixing to get into a fight, a tiger fight. If we're going to get eaten by a lion, we don't need digestion anyway. So we're going to shut that down. We're going to shut down that. We're going to shut down reproduction. We're going to shut. I know it. I say this a lot. People don't really get it. They don't really get how funny it is. It's kind of funny. No one reproduces in the middle of a tiger fight, right? That's not going to happen. So the reproduction shuts down. Posture becomes irrelevant in the middle of a tiger fight. The immune system is not important if you're only going to live 90 more seconds, right? So our brain is going to conserve its resources in order for us to fight or flight. And then it's going to, once that threat goes away, then it's going to release those parasympathetic chemicals to tell us to rest and recover. Whew, that was good. That's the way that system works, back and forth. It's going. Okay. So what it tells me, when we're in the quadrant, when we move from quadrant 1 to quadrant 2, and we're still, let's say that what it measures it somewhere up here, 1 or 2 or 3 on the vertical axis. What that's telling me is that the person is fighting throughout their day. You're fighting to stay alive. You're fighting to do the things that you need to do, but your rest and recover part has decreased. If you're moving in this direction, the rest and recover part is decreasing. You're losing that ability to rest and recover, and that will wear you out. That will create things that will wear you out. And so we want to make sure that we have the ability to rest and recover. So what does it mean if you move downward from quadrant 2 to quadrant 3? What does that mean? Well, now not only have you gone negative, you've gone to the left, you've gone negative when you're parasympathetic, which means your parasympathetic is not working anymore. But what you also have is now you've gone negative, you've gone downward on your sympathetic, your fight or flight. Now you're losing your ability to even fight through the day. And that's where you get sick, is over there in quadrant 3. That's where disease will eat your lunch. And that's when your body, when your nervous system is not able to function properly, you'll move over into that level right there, and you'll get sick. And what we know about chronic disease, and what we know about sickness, and what we know about those type of things that will kill us, is that what we have right there is we have degeneration of the parasympathetic receptor on the cell wall. That's one of the things that happens, is we lose the ability, even if we wanted to, we'd until we repair that receptor, we can't get our body to go into rest and recover. And that's a serious problem. That's a serious problem if you have any intention of living longer. It's not a serious problem if your intention is to just crash and burn and be out of this place today. That's not a serious problem, right? But if you happen to want to live longer, you do not want that little problem to happen right there. You don't want to lose your ability to rest and recover. So we get into this conversation. We get into this conversation about what was going on, and why our in-body scan was better, our omega-3 test was better, our heart sound recorder was better, but man, we're moving in the wrong direction in our heart rate variability. What is going on? And the the conversation turned to alcohol. The conversation turned to alcohol, and that became like everything else is good. The relationships are good. The children's good. All this sort of thing good. And then, but during pre-test to next test, I probably, instead of one alcoholic drink a week, I moved to 2 alcoholic drinks a week. And then all of a sudden, it shows up on your heart rate variability test that your body's moving in the wrong direction. And it's like what is that? What are we doing with that alcohol? What are we doing with sugar, and what are we doing with chocolate, and what are we doing when all that is happening, right? And that's, I know we've had these conversations. You've seen this model, right? But this one right here, this up and to the right, over to the left, that left side brain is where it has an affinity for dopamine. And remember this little graph. And this graph was from Robert Lustig. And it's the hacking of the American mind. And so in the hacking of the American mind, he gave us this graph and he explained it to us, and he talked to us about dopamine and what happens with dopamine, and what happens when what we're trying to get to is this middle section, because if we're too low, we don't have any motivation. The not having enough dopamine doesn't give us any motivation. And it was explained pretty good in there's Daniel Lieberman MD book called The Molecule of More, and he does a pretty decent job of breaking it down to kind of explain what exactly that means. And so he talks about John Douglas Pettigrew, emeritus professor of physiology at the University of Queensland, Australia, is a native of the delightfully named city of Wagga Wagga, whatever. Pettigrew had a brilliant career as a neuroscientist and is best known for updating the flying primates theory, which established bats as our distant cousins. Whatever. Okay. Distant, way distant. Yeah. So, while working on this idea, Pettigrew became the first person to clarify how the brain creates three-dimensional map of the world. That sounds far removed from passionate relationships, but would turn out to be a key concept for explaining dopamine and love. Pettigrew found that the brain manages the external world by dividing it into separate regions, the peripersonal and the extrapersonal. basically near and far. Peripersonal space includes whatever is it within arm's reach. Things you can control right now by using your hands. This is the world of what's real right now. Extrapersonal space refers to everything else, wherever you can't touch unless you move beyond your arm's reach. Whether it's 3 feet or 3 million miles away, this is the realm of possibility. So he kind of broke that down into what I can touch from where I am and something I have to go get. With those definitions in place, another fact follows, obvious but useful. Since moving from one place to another takes time, any interaction in the extrapersonal space must occur in the future, right? So if it's extrapersonal, if it's far away, it's going to happen in the future because I can't reach and grab it right now. So we're going to take a break. We're right up against a break, and I'm going to finish this thought on the other side of the break because I think he illustrates it pretty well. What drives dopamine and what's causing us to want to get to that level, and why exactly? Why do we eat the sugar? Why do we eat the chocolate? What is it that's doing that? And then how can we solve that problem? So we'll be right back right after these messages. I'm going to hold that right there for all the make sure I got my mic turned off. Yeah, for all of our group that's listening on the radio, I'm going to hold that thought just for a second. And then I'm going to see. I don't know if anybody has tried to even, I don't know if anything's happening on our Instagram page. I can't really see it. It doesn't appear to me. It doesn't appear to me that we got that that we got that going for some reason. But it said we were connected, and it says I'm connected right now. So I don't know what if anybody out there can see it on Instagram at therock.health. I don't know where it would show up. If you guys are seeing it out there or you're not seeing it, I don't really know where to look. Well, it's so sad because all those people are missing out, right? All those people are missing out on all this great health information that because they hadn't found us on Facebook. My daughter gave me a scolding today about my post, my Instagram post. She said, "Dad, you can't do that. It's just like a cringy old man. You can't take a selfie of yourself and post it in front of your building." I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was great. She raked me over the coals this afternoon. She's like, "Dad, please." She's like, "There's some things you do that I just did a little bit disagree with, but this is horrible. You've really got to stop. You got to stop with this still." So I was like, "Okay, that's really funny." She doesn't have any idea. I'm just trying to get people's attention so that they'll come get adjusted. That's the only reason. Come get adjusted so that you don't have to live a life of misery. Come get adjusted so that your nervous system will work because subluxation is detrimental. That's what we're trying to do. Trying to get you to understand that right there. So whatever it takes to get that done, we'll do a crazy radio show and TV show 5 nights a week too. If we can figure out how to get that done, it's like if whatever it takes, that's what we'll do. We'll keep at it and we'll keep going and we'll. But yeah, I don't see us at all. I don't see us. Maybe it shows up later. Maybe if we're streaming it, or maybe I just don't know. I don't know how that worked out. So it was cute the way I got in trouble for that. Okay, we're coming back. Okay, everybody, we're back, and we were. This is life with Jason Clemmons, DC, and we're breaking down some um, some ideas of dopamine. And so we were reading out of Daniel Lieberman, MD's book, The Molecule of More, and and I think because he does a pretty good job of illustrating this, right? So let me back up just a second so you can stay with me. With those definitions in place, another fact follows, obvious but useful. Since moving from one place to another takes time, any interaction in the extra personal space must occur in the future. Or, to put it another way, distance is linked to time. For instance, if you are in the mood for a peach, but the closest one is sitting at the bin at the corner of the market, you can't enjoy it now. You can only enjoy it in the future, after you go get it. Acquiring something out of your reach may also take some planning. It could be simple as standing up to turn on a light, walking in the market for the peach, or figuring out how to launch a rocket to get to the moon. This is the defining characteristic of things in the extrapersonal space. To get them requires effort, time, in many cases, planning. By contrast, anything in the peripersonal space can be experienced in the here and now. Those experiences are immediate. We touch, taste, hold, and squeeze. We feel happiness, sadness, anger, and joy. This brings us to clarifying fact of neurochemistry. This is what I wanted to kind of illustrate right there. The clarifying fact of neurochemistry: the brain works in one way in the peripersonal space and another way in the extrapersonal space. If you are designing the human mind, it makes sense that you would create a brain that distinguishes between things in one way, one system for what you have, and another for what you don't have. For early humans, a familiar phrase, either you have it or you don't, could be translated into either you have it or you're dead. Okay? From an evolutionary standpoint, food that you don't have is critically different from food that you do have. It's the same for water, shelter, and tools. The division is so fundamental that separate pathways and chemicals are involved in the brain to handle peripersonal and extrapersonal space. When you look down, you look into the peripersonal space. And for that, the brain is controlled by a host of chemicals concerned with the experience in the here and now. But when the brain is engaged with the extrapersonal space, one chemical exercises more control than all the others. The chemical associated with anticipation and possibility, dopamine. Things in the distance, things we don't have yet, cannot be used or consumed, only desired. Dopamine has a very specific job: maximizing resources that will be available to us in the future, the pursuit of better things. I think he says that pretty well right there in his book, because it's the neurotransmitter of anticipation. It's that we're trying to get. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it a little bit of what we're searching for in why do we need to increase our alcoholic drink? What is the point of that right there? What is the point of needing to eat more sugar? You're noticing right now, and we talked about it this week. There's 16 days. So last night there were 17 days left, right? There's 16 days left to the first, and you guys realize that the first is on a Monday, and you realize you're not going to start your wellness program on the Monday of the first. So you're going to say, "Well, I'll just start it on the second." Well, probably not. On a Tuesday, you're really not. And so what are you going to do? You're going to wait. You're going to start it on a Wednesday because it's the first of the year, right? That's when we start getting healthy. Probably not until the next Monday. So we're looking at 24 days from now before we actually get to it. Okay. So what are we going to do to ourselves? What we're going to do is we've started to notice that the Christmas parties that we've gone to, that we've moved ourselves towards, those Christmas parties, now all of a sudden we've eaten more sugar and than we normally do. This is the time of year we start to eat that stuff, right? Well, let's talk about that from from a standpoint that Dr. Lustig breaks down in his book. And because he does a good job here of talking about how one part of the brain fires to another part of the brain where the dopamine gives us that feeling of reward. It gives um, it's like, whoa, this the nucleus accumbens is it doesn't matter but what's area. But if you open the dopamine floodgates repeatedly, these neurons have some fail-safe methods built in to protect themselves. So there's there's two ways that a cell can die. I'll get to it in a second. Um, the goal is to have optimal level of dopamine receptors so that even minuscule dopamine rush can find an open receptor and generate a unique pleasure from the experience. You go back to those receptors that we were talking about earlier, and you have those receptors on the cell walls. Well, in the brain, you've got the receptors. You got a cell, doesn't look like that, but that's our, and you have a receptor, and you have a receptor, and this particular receptor is a receptor for dopamine. So it has a bunch of them on there because, man, you might not, when this cell was created, there was no such thing as Hershey chocolate. There was no such thing as Jim Beam. There was no such thing as Jack Daniel's whiskey. There was no such thing as wine. That cell right there, when that thing was created, that thing was created a long time ago. That 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 and so it if it was going to get any dopamine, it had to have lots of receptors out there because all it needed was one little piece, one little bit of dopamine that was released to hit one receptor to give this cell its reward. That's all it needed was one little thing. But that if we um, a bigger rush, a couple of glasses of scotch or jumping out of an airplane will occupy more receptors and generate a bigger reward, right? So now if we eat a candy bar, we eat a Christmas cookie, we eat some spiked eggnog or whatever, right? We're going to get a rush of that. We're going to get more sugar. And so but stimulating the dopamine receptor excites the next neuron in the nucleus accumbens, the NA, and overstimulation with multiple rapid firings can cause those receptor containing neurons to go into overdrive, leading to cell damage or death, termed exotoxicity. We don't realize that. We don't realize that that you can hit that cell a little bit and you can get reward from it. But if you hit that cell a bunch, boom, 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 that's too much. It's like blowing like putting too much power through one of those old light bulbs and blowing that thing all up. Pow! That thing just explodes. A little bit of energy into that light bulb works out fabulous. A lot of energy into that light bulb, and all of a sudden, that you blow glass all over the place, right? Because think about how we used to get dopamine. It was by moving. It was the molecule that got us to get up and walk, the molecule that got us to move forward. And we had to go get it. We had to actually take time to go get it, and we had to move ourselves in space to go get it, and we anticipated it in the process, and that's how we got it. But nowadays we don't even have to move to get it. We can just sit here and be still and have a whole plate full of cookies or an alcoholic drink or look at our phone and flip, 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 flip and over. And then we can anticipate the next flip and anticipate the next flip and anticipate the next flip. That anticipation is it's incongruent with the way that the system actually works. So what happens to the cell? The cell, in order to survive this exotoxicity, this cell starts to remove. It actually doesn't remove. There's some little thing called ligands, and it actually starts to block. The ligands comes in and basically blocks the receptors. They block those receptors so that there's only a couple of them left. That's a problem, because if in the beginning we had, all we needed was just one little dopamine hit on that receptor gave us reward, then if we downregulate that, now what it means is it takes us more of this dopamine. We have to increase the hit on that same receptor to get the same reward we got last time. It, every time we stimulate that cell to the level that's that large, then the next time we want to get the same reward for it, we have to increase the stimulus, because we've already, that cell's so sensitive. Don't be doing it. Don't be doing that. So what can be happening to us right now during this Christmas holiday season? We could be going to a Christmas party and going to another Christmas party, and then all of a sudden we find ourselves buying more sugar at home, and then all of a sudden we need another glass of wine, and all of a sudden we need just a little bit more alcohol, and all of a sudden what are we doing? We're down regulating those dopamine receptors, and we're needing more stimulus to get us that same result. And what will this do to us? That's why it's literally foolish for us to give up health on any day of our life. It's literally foolish for us to say, I'll wait till the first of the year. That's not sound. It's not a sound concept, because by the time, because I know it, because I lived it for 30 years, and all I did was get heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. All I did was get closer and closer and closer to death. I got closer to heart disease. I got closer to Alzheimer's disease. I got closer to Parkinson's disease. I got closer to all of those chronic kidney disease and liver disease and all the things that goes along with it, right? That's because I went along with that thought process. No, it's not. This ain't the time of year to do that. It's not. This is not the time to be healthy. Look, we'll be healthy next year. 2024 will be our year. So between now and 2020, I made a plan, and 2024 is going to be the time that I'm going to get healthy. So I think what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and eat every Christmas cookie I could possibly get my hands on between now and 2024. And what will I do to myself? I would downregulate those receptors, and I will need another cookie to get the same reward, and I'll need another cookie to get the same reward. See how trapping that can be for us, right? And all we got to do is know it. All we got to do is learn it and understand it and know it and say, "Oh, I see how that works. No, thank you. No, thank you. I'm not interested in doing that. That is not what I'm here for. That's not what I'm about." Right? That's not what I'm doing. So if we come back to the brain again and we break this whole idea down of the up and to the right and over to the left, that over to the left is the natural way of controlling that dopamine. When the brain stimulates itself internally because the pathway is firing the way it's supposed to. And this is me. This is my opinion. This is my way that I believe it works based on all the study that I've done, and I can argue it with literature and science. I believe this is true right here. Like that, literally, that picture that if you guys are watching it on Facebook, that picture right there is my Mona Lisa. Like that right there means so much to me that I could fill up all these shows and just keep talking about that, and I fill up my entire day with that right there. And the more I study that picture right there, the more I learn about health. The more that I study that picture, the more I learn about health. And it's like, man, I can talk to you about that. I could talk to you about so many things off of that right there. I could talk to you about anxiety and depression and concentration issues and ADHD. I could talk to you about diabetes. I could talk to you about heart disease, and we could get into cancer. I could talk to you about shoulder orthopedic problems and knee orthopedic problems. I could talk to you about um, about relationships and empathy for other people. The like that picture is so valuable to me. And if you guys are listening to it on the radio, just draw a circle and put a plus in the middle of it and pretend that's your brain. And then draw an arrow that curves up and to the right, and then draw another arrow that goes to the left. And that that picture, if you can get that done, if you can get that done, man, you will control your health. You will control your health, because let's just draw our little dopamine. Let's draw our little dopamine graph in there, and that's the spot we want. Is we want that that sweet spot right in the middle. Well, if we're not getting this done, if this is not happening, we're losing that piece right there. And if we're losing that piece right there, we're going to come at it externally. We're going to come at it from an external source. We're going to add the sugar. We're going to add the alcohol. We're going to add all those things that give us that 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 dopamine that we're looking for. But it's super hard, because when we add this external source and we fire those dopamine pathways right there, first of all, we're getting that dopamine from sitting in our own space and not having to go get it. I don't have any going to get it. I'm just sitting here and getting it. But we're also down regulating the receptors, which means we have to upregulate this. Now, what does that matter? What does that matter in the overall health, in the overall scheme of things? What difference does that make? Well, I'll tell you what difference it makes. When you do this right here, and you come back, you come back and we do your second heart rate variability, and you go from right here to right here in your resting spot. If you go from right there to right there, you started over here somewhere and you've already moved to quadrant number 2, and now you're moving down into quadrant number 3. Why is that? Why would that actually happen to us? Well, what is sugar? Sugar is 50% glucose and 50% fructose, right? And fructose is a toxin that's only metabolized in the liver. What is alcohol? It's fermented corn or grapes or whatever, but it's fructose. Most of it is fructose. What is orange juice? It's fructose. What happens to us in the liver? What will happen to us in the liver when we ingest those things? Here's an article. I'm not going to go all the way to the top. It's from PubMed. But while estimating alcohol consumption, it is to be understood that 12 fluid ounces of beer, 4 ounces of wine, or 1.5 fluid ounces of distilled spirits all contain approximately 14 grams or 0.6 fluid ounces of pure alcohol. Okay, 12 ounces of beer, 4 ounces of wine have approximately 14 grams of pure alcohol. Based on this, the threshold for developing severe alcohol-associated liver disease in men is an intake of less than 60 to 80 grams per day of alcohol for 10 years. Okay. While for women, it seems to be an increased risk for developing the same degree of liver injury by consuming 20 to 40 grams per day of alcohol. 20 to 40 grams. 20, if you have one 4 ounce um, glass of wine, that's 14 grams. So just do 2 glasses of wine. That'll put you at 28 grams. That'll put you right in the middle, according to this article. It'll put you right in the middle of increased risk for developing the same degree of liver injury by consuming 20 to 40 grams per day. Now, they did it over 10 years, but I'm telling you, it moves you in that direction in the 10 years. As compared to men, women are more susceptible to liver disease. Women tend to develop the advanced liver disease with less alcohol intake substantially. The gender dependent differences in the gastrointestinal and hepatic metabolism of alcohol are likely to contribute towards the increased susceptibility of women to alcohol induced liver injury. Now, that's a great sentence right there because listen to what it says. The gender dependent differences in the gastrointestinal metabolism of alcohol. How many times have you thought about that? How many times have you thought about when we're ingesting alcohol that the gastrointestinal tract is being involved in that? Like, did we think about that? Did we think that maybe our gut and the microbiome is being affected by what's happening right there? We're not. No, we didn't. I would be willing to bet you $1,000 that 99.999% of the people on the planet who are drinking 2 alcoholic drinks a week do not think for 1 second about the gastrointestinal epithelial lining metabolism of the alcohol when they're drinking it. Is that fair? I think that's fair. I don't think anybody would think about that. Some nerd on a Friday night sitting in his office doing a radio show might bring it up. But other than that, I don't think that there would probably be anybody on the planet that would think of that. But that would be something that would create inflammation in the gut lining. And that would start to create inflammation in the liver. And then that would start to cause the nervous system to lose its regulation of parasympathetic and sympathetic activity. Right? And then if I brought you in and tested it, and all of a sudden you start moving towards quadrant 3, if you knew that, when I showed it to her, she did not want that to happen. She did not want that to happen stronger than she wanted to have a drink. I guarantee it. She's just doing it socially, but she's not any different than all the rest of us who are doing the same thing. Don't kid yourself. Sugar is the same thing as alcohol to the liver. I got that right here from Dr. Lustig, MD. Sugar, the Bitter Truth. If you go to the rockhealthwellnesscenters.com and go to videos, you can watch that video, and that's what's happening. But why? Why are we trying? What is the need? See, the thing that it does, the thing that matters is we're getting external dopamine release in the brain. But what we don't realize is in the meantime, we're killing the digestive tract and we're killing the liver. And that will kill us. So what we do is we get the reward that kills us. We get the reward that kills us. And what do we want? What do we want that is so much more powerful than that? What we want that is so much more powerful than that is we want our brain to naturally do it itself. We want our brain to fire from right to left, to fill that left side brain up that has an affinity for dopamine. We want our brain to do that naturally, because when you do that right there, you cause no problem for your gastrointestinal tract. You cause no problem for your liver. It doesn't cause one bit of problem for your liver when you get your when you get your brain to give you the dopamine that you need. And that's what the whole thing, that's why it really does matter the choices that we make to try to be healthier. I hope tonight was helpful. I hope this conversation gives you a little bit of data. Maybe it gives you a little bit of insight, and I hope that it helps you be healthier. And just remember, today is a great day to make a healthy choice. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll be back on Monday night at 6, and we'll take health to church. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Holler if you need me.